Well, I got interrupted by a phone call, but here we go again. This woman, yeah, her husband was murdered, so she has to open the safe, and they take they're taking the jewelry. He's dead. They're getting away, and they decide to rob another payroll place where this guy used to work. Ray Hamilton used to work. Beat up some of the people, take some of the money. Then they go to some. They flee to Oklahoma, where Bonnie is working as a waitress in a diner cafe. She tells him that her aunt has a place they can hide out. Her boss overhears, and he gets kind of upset. So they decide to rob the cafe. They rob the register and take off on him. He's like, a girl like that, I just can't believe it. And her aunt, Bonnie's aunt, winds up calling the police because she's suspicious these guys have all this money and they're never working. And the police show up and they say, yep, the car's stolen. And the cops show up, and they have a little battle with the police here. They wind up getting away. And they wind up shooting her aunt for squealing on them. And later on, it says Ray and Clyde soon split. Ray with a new pal here. They find some girl that they want to meet up with later for a date. When they show up at the roller rink, the cops show up. Turns out the girlfriend, the girl's boyfriend, is a police officer. She recognized their photos, so it was a sting. She squealed on him. So here he is, Ray Hamilton, going to prison. And, later on, this Bonnie and Clyde is coming to break them out. I guess they're friends again. So they're out. He's out working one day with the prison crew, and then they start shooting at the cops. And he runs away, jumps in the car with them. And they get ready to rob a bank again. And it says Geary, Texas. This is all supposed to be based on a true story. Shoots the bank teller. I guess the cops show up at the bank robbery. They were delivering securities at the time, it says. Then Ray is sentenced to die in the electric chair. It says Huntsville Prison, which is down the road from Houston, Texas. So he's in prison now, waiting to be executed. Somehow he gets a gun smuggled into him. Tells the guard to give him the keys. He breaks out with some other guy, knocks the guard out. They're making a run for it. Going over the fence, a ladder somebody set up. All the other guys wind up getting shot and killed. He's lucky he gets away with two girls that are waiting for him. So they're making a run for it. And somehow the cops find out where they're at. Come to arrest him. They get him this time. He thinks he's going to escape again, but in the end, it says crime never pays. I guess he gets electrocuted in the electric chair. And if you're ever in Huntsville, Texas, they have that chair on display. It's called Old Sparky. They have a prison museum. The Cruel Mask of Mystery. This is supposed to be a true story of Machine Gun Kelly. You may have heard that name before. I never knew this. It says he started off as a sheriff of a small town in Oklahoma. He arrested some guy robbing a bank. And the robber starts telling him how much money he's making, advising the sheriff he should go into bank robbery. At first he doesn't listen. But then pretty soon he starts thinking, wait a minute, this is not a bad idea. So he decides to rob a movie theater first. He gets a mask here, robs this movie theater. Says he makes enough money that would take him 4 months to make. So he gets addicted to easy money. And he takes his mask off and goes back to the theater as the sheriff, pretending to come upon the scene. And later on, a strange guy shows up. It was a friend of one of the guys that he had arrested before, and they decide to rob a bank together. And then here's some ads for some junk. An ad for a more powerful looking body instantly. And then the next page, they're robbing the bank. It's interesting here. It says a 10-year-old son of the bank president went for a gun he knew was in the desk drawer. Ends up shooting Machine Gun Kelly. Then the officer, I guess the security officer, winds up shooting the other guy. They both get caught. They find out it's the sheriff. Everybody's freaking out. But then they tell him, this is kind of amazing. It's in the beginning of World War I. They tell him if he leaves Oklahoma and joins the army, they won't press charges. So he winds up learning how to use a machine gun in the army. And it says here he likes to kill people. Even when they're surrendering, he shoots them dead. So when he gets out of the army, he meets this woman. They decide to get married. He runs into some other guy he knew in jail. Here, they decide to get back together and do some robberies again. They get these little outfits for the guys that pick up the money from the Federal Reserve Bank wear. They're going to go try to steal the shipment. So they show up and take the money, but then the real guards show up. They realize it's some kind of theft going down. So one of them winds up shooting the hand of Machine Gun Kelly, or shooting a gun out of his hand. So he winds up getting arrested again. He gets sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. And he's in federal prison. He meets up with some other guy that he knew. The guy that did the first bank robbery with him. And they're planning on escaping. So they're at a prison baseball game. They grab the warden and start strangling his neck here. And they make their way out the front gate. They got a fast car. They're getting away with it. They throw the warden out of the car. And they make a run for it. The car breaks down. Let's see. Machine Gun Kelly's climbing up over a bridge. The cops are on his tail, so he has to jump into the water. Gets away. Calls his wife. She meets him with some fresh clothes. And then so one of the other guys that was escaping with him shows up. He informs him the other guy was shot. Then they decide to do a kidnapping of a millionaire oil guy in Oklahoma City. So they grab the old oil tycoon. He's blindfolded, but he pays attention to the noises he hears, the weather. He asks them what time it is. They tell him like idiots. So this old man's pretty smart, the oil tycoon. He keeps asking questions and hearing noises. He's keeping track of everything. And one of the robbers comes back and says he's got the 200 grand. So they decide to get rid of the old man, the kidnapped victim. They're on their way. The FBI is questioning the old man, and he tells them everything he remembers. So they wind up tracking him down. They have to flee Texas, and they're going to Memphis. This little girl recognizes them, tells her dad. He calls the police. The little girl recognizes them from the newspaper. So the FBI shows up at the end here, and they capture Machine Gun Kelly. And down at the bottom it says, both Machine Gun Kelly and his wife Catherine were brought to trial and given life sentences for the kidnapping of Jonah Bushell, this ending the criminal career of Machine Gun Kelly. And then they have a free history-making stamp ad in the back. Then they got an ad for chewing gum in the back. Chewing gum that makes you lose weight, which I've seen before. Gain more weight or your money back ad. It's kind of funny. They had ads for people wanting to gain weight. That's unheard of in America in today's society. But that's it. Shocking mystery number 57. Thank you. Peace. Oops.